Christmas 2020 was weird but good. What you see before you is everything needed to make a Schmibson Mez Paul. This beautiful body came with all the necessary hardware and an impressively finished neck. I wasn't sure what the quality was going to be just off eBay, off a random seller, but I can't recommend it enough. Can't wait to see how it comes together. The neck pocket fit, which is very critical, is really nice. See this 56, they must have matched him pretty well at the factory. This veneer is very thin, but the figuring is pretty beautiful. So I'm going to put some red stain on it, and then put True Oil over it. It should be a pretty easy and fun project because both those just wipe on. It's not going to be too messy, and they both dry pretty quickly. And then this is some Schmibson black headstock lacquer for the headstock. So the first step is just to do some light finish sanding on the body. There's some squeeze out of glue in a couple places. We want to be real careful not to sand through the veneer, but I'll just clean up the body a little bit, and then we'll get it mounted on the stand I made, and then do some staining. This is 400 grit. It's actually higher than a lot of people recommend. I'm just trying to be really careful and take my time with this thing. So the next step is going to be affixing this mock neck. This is a bolt-on kit to make it a little easier for my first time. So I'm just going to use the neck bolts, bolt on the fake neck, and put it in the stand for finishing. I'm going to use mineral spirits for a lot of cleanup in this project. So I'll just lightly clean up the body to get rid of that dust. Don't want too much. Don't want to mess with this veneer at all. There's also a lot of oil from my hands on it at this point. Alright, prep work is done. Here's where shit gets real. I'm going to go with some Barn Red Varathan Stain. And I'm gonna start with a brush, but you can also wipe it on. We'll see what works best, and then wipe off the excess. We'll do one treatment and see where we're at. It might be a little tricky to match the neck. The neck's a lot lighter, but I'm gonna start with the body first. Kind of sucks in a certain amount, and anything that it can't will be left over on top. Time for some messy wiping. This is a turning point. We'll really get to see what it looks like. So it took a lot of the red off the gun oil. So I mixed in a little stain with the gun oil. Let's see if that does any better. In between rounds of the True Oil, I'm going to use some Triple O steel wool to rough it up a little bit. Okay, so I think this stain in the gun oil plan is working pretty well. It's getting some good color back. Alright, 4th oil coat, 3rd with dye from the stain, 9th overall, although I think some of the stain ones were kind of a waste. I think this will be the final coat on the body. It looks amazing. That's 4 coats of True Oil. Most people say do 1 to 3. I'm not really noticing any difference in color, but we build up a little bit of extra layers of the varnish for the sheen. So onto the neck, and then I can load the body. So I'm happy with where the body's at. It's time to do neck stuff. I was pretty impressed by the fretwork. It's looking pretty good already. I'm just going to clean it up a little bit with an emery board, and then also put some graphite in the nut slots. And then I'll rough it up with some steel wool, and we'll do a couple coats of stain and then some of the gun oil plus stain. This is a lighter wood, so it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it comes out. I'm not too concerned about matching because that's super hard. Just I'm more concerned with really good fitment and putting a good finish on it. Alright, let's see how the neck takes the stain. Really not much. This wood doesn't have open pores. So I did 2 coats of the stain. It didn't really leave much, so I'll go to the gun oil plus stain. See how that comes out. The stain is working on this dense maple, albeit very slowly. It's getting kind of a pink tint, which is interesting because the guitar body is kind of more orange. So it's very slowly, and it's not giving us much, but I'll probably do another coat or 2 of the gun oil plus the stain. True oil is something called a polymerized oil, which means an oil that's been heated to form long chains, and it's almost more like a plastic. You'll find it commonly on cast iron cooking. That's what seasoning a cast iron cooking pan does. This version is for Gunstocks, but I'm using it for a LP style guitar kit. It's my first time trying it, so I'll be interested to see how it works out. Besides actually playing it, this is going to be like the most satisfying part of this build. Bridge pins going in. Nice. Oh boy, guess I better figure out the wiring harness. It did not come with instructions at all, so I just have to use what resources I have at hand, such as the internet, to figure out where all this goes. Luckily it's this plug and play stuff. And I'm just going to put a little dielectric grease into every connector, make sure it goes together smooth. From internet research, I'm slowly piecing together what's going on with this wiring harness. The ones with the capacitors are tone, and the last on the line is bridge tone, which will go here. So I'll start with that. I'm going to do a black headstock as tradition. I'm going to sand it with 400, tape it off, and then I got this black lacquer specifically for this. February made me shiver. Come on, buddy. I'm about to lift the lid on the black lacquer headstock after giving it a good 3 hours of drying the second coat. You didn't need to see me spraying the second coat. It looked exactly the same, but it got nice and deep and wet. So let's see. Whew. Nice. Bro. Frosty. This headstock came out quite beautifully, but it's going to be a little difficult to get the tape off. So I'll need this fresh razor blade. It's actually coming off quite nicely. And then I'll probably just sand down that edge a little bit. Time to do it. I still have to figure out the wiring mess, but the neck is dry. I'm about to finish up physical construction. So I'll put tuners on and then put the neck in. Here comes the big moment though. Oh, neck to body. I've been waiting days. So, see, just barely sticking out, and there will be a place for the neck to land. All right, buddy. Alright, so close to seeing how this sounds. I figured out the factory stock wiring harness with all these unlabeled clips. So all I gotta do now is extend this and then solder the middle position of the switch together. And then I can string it up with all 6 strings and finally see how this sounds. Just right there on these middle 2 prongs. They're zipped together now. So how's it play?